Some people say the coolest supercar in the world is Lamborghini. But when it comes to the most elegant supercar, which one would you think of? That's right, the protagonist of this video is Aston Martin. Sam purchased it at an online auction for about $25,000, bringing it into his collection. Now, he's in the auction company's parking lot, desperately looking for his beloved car. This parking lot is quite huge. Sam wandered around for a long time, finally discovering his Aston Martin. From the outside, this car appears almost intact. However, the information provided by the auction website indicated that this car has serious mechanical issues. As for the specific cause of the failure, it's still unknown, but Sam confidently stated that he has the ability to fix everything. Surprisingly, at the rear of the car, there was actually a tow hook installed. It's certainly rare to see a supercar with a tow hook. He also thought this was quite novel. Even stranger, the door lock on the passenger side is missing. Opening the passenger door, he found the interior door panel had been removed and casually tossed onto the seat. All signs indicate that this car's issues might not be simple. What Sam is holding is the original door sill trim plate. The original car was equipped with a black decorative tread plate, but the later owner changed it to purple. The roof lining seems to have been modified as well, changed to the current color. I guess it was originally black too. I wonder if you feel the same way. This orange roof lining looks somewhat out of place. When I first saw this roof lining, I felt it wasn't very natural or harmonious, giving an awkward feeling. Additionally, this roof is also a bit strange. The original paint layer has been sanded off, revealing the metal shine. At first I thought it was covered with wallpaper, but upon closer inspection, I realized that wasn't the case. The seats inside were also given a two-tone treatment. He tried to start the vehicle, but due to long-term disuse, the battery was depleted, causing startup failure. So, he got an emergency battery, preparing to try a jump start. Now won't start, come on. Where's gas? However, after several attempts, the vehicle still wouldn't start. Although the car was powered up, it just wouldn't ignite. He unlocked with the key again, trying once more. There you go. Probably what it was. All right, here we go. Finally, the car started, and the engine sounded very good. Shifting into gear, removing the emergency power source, Sam prepared to drive the vehicle. However, no matter how he pressed the gas pedal, the car wouldn't move at all. This is the serious mechanical failure. The vehicle cannot drive normally, possibly an issue with the clutch or transmission. Sam tested the vehicle's air suspension system, finding it worked normally. Worth mentioning, the car's rims look very new, as if they were just replaced yesterday. The engine shouldn't have any major problems. It sounds very good when running. The main issue is that the car can't move after shifting gears, since the vehicle couldn't drive normally. Sam called his friends to help push the Aston Martin to the trailer, then used the winch on the trailer to pull it up. The whole loading process was quite difficult, because the car has a very low chassis. Sam placed two wooden boards under the trailer. At first, these two boards worked to some extent, but later became ineffective. You can see the entire left front wheel hanging outside. Fortunately, they stopped the winch in time, otherwise the entire undercarriage might have been damaged. They came over to check. Having no other choice, they had to forcibly pull it up and deal with any damage later, fixing whatever needed repair, patching what needed patching. This loading process was truly one twist after another. Just as it was almost in position, the rim nearly got scraped by the trailer's fender. Fortunately, he adjusted the steering wheel in time, otherwise they would need to repair the rim too. From the outside, the left side is obviously much wider than the right. Loading cars is quite a technical job. Being able to park like this is already pretty good. Usually when Sam and his team pick up cars, they normally leave the loading work to the parking lot's forklift, rarely doing it themselves. After securing the vehicle, Sam drove back to his farm. The entire journey wasn't far, just a 4-hour drive away. So, he wasn't in a rush to get back to the farm, but first towed the car to one of his good friends, because this friend recently also bought an Aston Martin. He wanted to learn some relevant knowledge here and asked for some advice. After carefully checking the interior and engine bay, he was eager to power up his Martin for a check to see what was going on, to inspect and check. Finally, His friend's advice was to have Sam go back and check the car's clutch. There's a high probability that the clutch has a problem, causing the vehicle to not shift into gear properly. After saying this, he showed off his newly purchased Aston Martin. Sam's Aston Martin is equipped with a V8 engine, while this one has a V12 engine, which sounds more full-bodied and powerful. He spent over $36,000 buying this car, with a mileage of over 50,000 miles. After buying the car, apart from simple exterior refurbishment, there were no other issues. The overall condition can be said to be excellent, while the Aston Martin that Sam bought, although more than $10,000 cheaper, with only 40,000 plus miles, is in worse condition and has a much smaller engine displacement. However, he still feels it's worth the money. Now, he's sitting in his friend's Aston Martin. The two preparing to go for a drive. V12 engine plus manual transmission configuration. This feeling is just amazing. After experiencing his friend's Aston Martin, Sam became even more determined to fix his own car, because he also wants to drive his Martin, speeding down the highway, first planning to conduct a comprehensive inspection of the vehicle to identify the specific cause of the failure, then develop a corresponding repair plan. When he returned to his farm, sitting in that familiar tractor driver's seat, slowly towing his beloved car to the repair area, skillfully operating the jack, lifting the rear of the car high, placing a sturdy support stand on each side. Next came the moment to remove the chassis shield, to thoroughly inspect the clutch condition. Meanwhile, he invited another friend to assist, who was busy removing the half shaft, while he observed carefully from the side, learning while chatting about the legendary story of Aston Martin. Aston Martin originated as a British brand in 1913, founded by Lionel Martin and Robert Bamford together. Its headquarters is located in the picturesque Newport. The company is famous for producing luxury convertibles, racing cars roaring on tracks, and limited edition sports cars. Each model exudes a unique British style. Intoxicating. However, in 1987, the god of fate led Aston Martin down another track. It was acquired by American Ford Motor Company. In 1994, Aston Martin became a wholly owned subsidiary of Ford Motor Company. But as time moved to 2007, Aston Martin changed hands again, returning to British soil, taken over by David Richards. Like a long-wandering traveler finally returning home. By now, the vehicle's exhaust pipe had been gently removed. Next came the step of draining the transmission oil. Sam decided to do it himself. The oil in the reservoir was still clear, with no impurities. This gave him confidence for the subsequent work. So, he continued disconnecting the half shafts on both sides, setting the stage for the exploration ahead. The screws were removed one by one. Drive shafts disconnected one after another, everything proceeding in an orderly manner. He brought over a small hoist, preparing to slowly lower the transmission. But this process wasn't as smooth as imagined. Certain parts were stuck perfectly in place, requiring careful leverage with an iron bar multiple times. Each pry had to be especially cautious, fearing damage to the transmission or other important components. Otherwise, subsequent repair work would be more complicated. Just as he was fully focused on disassembly, the transmission seemed to be caught on something else. Suddenly shaken several times, this action, though seemingly rough, was a necessary measure. However, this sudden movement also caused the nearby support stand to sway, as if reminding everyone that during chassis disassembly, safety measures are extremely important. If conditions allow, it's best to place an extra tire on the side to increase stability. If a lift is available to assist, that would be even better. After coordinated teamwork, the transmission was successfully pushed out. Sam remarked, the difficulty of removing this transmission was much simpler than the previous Ferrari, because the Ferrari's transmission had to be lifted out from the engine bay, a complex and cumbersome process. In comparison, the disassembly work on the Aston Martin was much easier. After removing the transmission, he carefully inspected it, finding no external damage. If the interior was also normal, then this transmission would be considered intact. Next, he continued removing the front wheel mud guard liner, taking off the entire front bumper. During this process, he discovered an interesting phenomenon. At first, he thought the bottom left corner of the headlight was deliberately damaged because there was an obvious notch there. Later, he learned this was actually a part of the original factory design. The purpose of this notch remains unknown to him. Perhaps it's for ventilation and heat dissipation. If any friends understand this, please answer for Sam in the comments section. I thought he was going to remove the bumper. However, the real target wasn't the bumper, but the intake air duct hidden behind it. The car's inability to shift gears logically has no direct connection to the intake duct. So, is there another hidden issue with this car? Let's continue watching. The drive shaft was also successfully removed. Next came the disassembly of the intake duct. It turns out all this was to facilitate removing the drive shaft, to then disassemble the clutch. The front-wheel drive structure is indeed difficult to work with in this position, having to frequently stop to rest, adjust breathing and posture. After much effort, he finally removed that metal pipe. It was hollow inside, with the drive shaft fitted within it. This pipe connects to the clutch, and one end is a bearing, connecting to the front of the car. After examining the subframe, everything was normal, except for some paint scraped off during loading. Now came the crucial moment of disassembling the clutch. With previous experience disassembling a Ferrari clutch, this time went much more smoothly. After all, as automotive technology has developed, many basic structures are similar. First, he removed the outer clutch cover. However, this clutch cover actually had different types of screws. So, he first used a small wrench, then continued with a larger wrench for the remaining screws. When the clutch was removed, a thick cloud of dust hit him in the face, suggesting the clutch condition might not be good. James was also seeing the situation for the first time, wondering to himself, could it be like that Ferrari? Needing a clutch replacement? Thinking of this, he quickly took out his phone, searching online for related clutch prices. After some searching, he found one suitable clutch kit for the same 2006 model, including clutch cover, flywheel, clutch disc, as well as necessary bearings and some washers, priced at nearly £3,000. Seeing this price, he thought to himself, how much did his car cost in the first place? This price is almost 1/5 of the car's value. More frustrating is that shipping isn't included. If shipped from the UK, that would probably add several $100s in shipping. It's really not worth it. After careful consideration, he decided not to replace the clutch kit for now, but planned to send all these components for refurbishment, just like when fixing that Ferrari before. This way he wouldn't need to wait for delivery, while also saving a considerable amount. After sending those parts away, Sam was now focused on disassembling the bearing. His goal was to replace the seals in the bearing. Halfway through disassembly, he found his tools weren't working well, so he decided to use a drill for the rubber seal. However, this approach isn't recommended, because if the force isn't controlled properly, it could damage other components. With the help of the drill, Sam made a small hole in the seal. Then he found a flathead screwdriver, planning to use this small hole to pry out the seal. This seemingly insignificant plastic seal cost as much as $100 from the dealer. You should know, the seal he previously replaced for the Ferrari cost only $33. So, Sam decided to look for a more economical purchasing option. Eventually, through other means, he got it for just $8. At the same time, he purchased a filter for the low price of $1. The dealer's quoted price was as high as $40. Sam's newly purchased filter was a bit taller than the original, but he said this wouldn't affect installation. After all, he obtained these parts at an extremely low price, saving a lot of money. The process of installing the seal was much simpler than removing it. Just fitting it in the appropriate position, then gently pushing to complete the installation. However, this didn't mean his work was finished. Next came an important step. Using the old seal as a gasket, placed on top of the new seal, and tapping around it with a wooden mallet. But Sam didn't have a wooden mallet on hand, so he had to make do with a metal hammer to complete this task. After the seal was completely installed, he began replacing the new oil filter. This step was equally straightforward. He just needed to find the correct position, then tighten the filter. Since the original clutch disc could no longer be refurbished for use, so he had to order a new one from the factory. The shape of this new clutch disc was different from any he had seen before. While the flywheel and clutch cover beside it had already been refurbished, the total cost for these clutch components was for $100. Compared to replacing with brand new parts, Sam saved over $3,000. This was undoubtedly a very worthwhile deal. As for how effective the refurbished clutch components would be, Sam said he would only know after installation. During the process of installing the flywheel, he encountered a small problem. Since the flywheel basin and flywheel were integrated, during installation, he needed something to hold it in place. Otherwise, the screws will be difficult to tighten. After solving this small problem, he successfully completed the installation of the flywheel. He tightened the 8 fixing bolts in sequence and did some simple cleaning work. Next, he began installing the clutch disc and cover. In a car's transmission system, the clutch plays a crucial role. Different types of clutches have different working principles and characteristics suitable for different scenarios. During the process of disassembling the bearing, Sam accidentally broke a small component nearby. This seemingly insignificant small part is actually not cheap. The dealer quoted a price as high as $115, and it would take a week to arrive. For this price and time, Sam obviously couldn't accept it, so he decided to remove a universal part from a nearby Corvette as a replacement. However, due to port mismatch, he spent another $6 to buy an adapter port. After much effort, he finally installed this part perfectly. Additionally, he found that the driver's door lock cylinder was still there, but the passenger door lock cylinder was missing. Therefore, a new lock cylinder needs to be purchased as a replacement. After solving these problems, he began assembling the new bearing and reinstalling it back on the car. During the previous dismantling process, he discovered a severely deformed oil cooler. He originally planned to buy a new one, or a used one as replacement, but the high price discouraged him. So, he found a good friend to help make a new oil cooler. After waiting for some time, he finally got this DIY oil cooler. Although making this oil cooler didn't have a clear cost record, but Sam said by doing it this way, he saved at least $1,000. Now, he's starting to install this new oil cooler. He carefully tightened every screw, connected every line. Thinking back to the oil draining process, he realized that the car's oil cooler was the problem. All along, Sam's car repair style has always been to save where possible. For tasks like changing engine oil and transmission fluid, he always tries to postpone until absolutely necessary. After all, adding new engine oil and transmission fluid costs money. Reinstalling the drive shaft. This process requires extremely careful operation. You have to be very careful, slowly pushing it back into place bit by bit. Then precisely align the keys in the clutch, ensuring that every detail is perfect. Although the entire installation process is complex, it went smoothly. However, when everything seemed ready, a new problem emerged. Obviously, the clutch pedal was not returning properly. So, Sam began analyzing the root of this problem. A non-returning clutch pedal usually has some main causes. First, the clutch master cylinder might be damaged, in which case a new clutch master cylinder is needed. Second, there might be insufficient brake fluid, or the fluid line has an air leak, or air has entered the fluid line, causing the clutch to not return automatically. This cause is also decided to deal with. It's simple because the solution cost is relatively low. Basically doesn't cost much to say. It's difficult because it requires patient and thorough troubleshooting to find the root cause. Sam first conducted a detailed inspection of the clutch master cylinder and found no signs of damage. Then they performed a bleeding operation and added some new brake fluid. After some effort, they finally solved the clutch pedal return problem. Fortunately, the problem wasn't with the clutch master cylinder, which was a relief. Next, they began reinstalling the transmission. This is a process completely opposite to disassembly, requiring precise tightening of every screw and proper installation of each half shaft. They also removed the original car's shock absorbers. Sam plans to sell these air suspension shock absorbers and replace them with ordinary shock absorbers, which is what you see now. It also removed the trunk's air tank because it's part of the air suspension system, which needs to be sold as a package. Compared to ordinary shock absorbers, air suspension has advantages. It can change the vehicle height by controlling air pressure, allowing the car to sit low when parked, and return to normal height during regular driving. Of course, you can also choose to drive with a lower stance for better ride stability and handling and control. The only disadvantage might be the relatively high price. After adding new oil, they prepare to start the vehicle and test if the drive system works normally. Since the car has been towed back for a long time and the battery hasn't been charged during this period, they need to charge the battery for a while first before testing the car. Be on. Go. When the vehicle starts successfully, they try shifting gears to check if the drive system is normal. Gratifyingly, the drive system has been restored to normal next. They just need to put back those components not yet installed. It seems that the reason this Aston Martin couldn't drive normally was due to a damaged clutch. The causes of clutch burnout are various. Incorrect driving habits can put too much strain on the clutch. They put the front bumper back in place, and after removing the protective film from the headlights, slowly lowered it from the support rack, preparing for the first official test drive. It moves. The Aston Martin's rear lines are smooth and elegant. Thanks to Sam's efforts, the vehicle's drive system has returned to normal. However, Sam discovered the vehicle was leaking oil, and the leak was quite serious. They had to send the vehicle to the repair shop again. After a quick inspection, they found the cause of the oil leak might be related to the seal Sam replaced earlier. This seal seemingly wasn't installed properly, causing oil to seep through the gaps. You can see the seal came off very easily. While Sam had a hard time removing the original seal, he even used a drill. Some might wonder, why didn't Sam just take the car directly to a repair shop for maintenance? This is mainly due to repair costs. What he can fix himself, he won't waste money on. But for this oil leak problem, he obviously didn't want to waste time looking for the cause himself. So he immediately took the car to the repair shop, unexpectedly. The problem turned out to be with the seal he had installed himself. The mechanic installed a new seal and ensured its firmness. Now, this seal won't come off easily. After reinstalling the flywheel, clutch disc, clutch cover, transmission, and other components, they test drove the car again. Alright, Shane, any minute now. Seriously, I thought, but they found the gear shift operation wasn't smooth, sometimes even shifting into the wrong gear. Then they carefully inspected the transmission and found a component on the transmission was faulty. However, this component seemingly couldn't be purchased separately, so he searched online for the same model transmission. The result surprised him. The price was as high as $7,000. After learning this price, Sam said he needed to go back and think it over. After all, it's not a small amount. While he was hesitating, an online friend gave him a suggestion to check the transmission shift cables. He decided to take the advice and proceeded to check the shift cables. It turned out it was indeed a problem with the shift cables. The old shift cables were obviously much longer than the new one. This caused the gear shift operation to become less smooth. After replacing with new shift cables, the gear shift problem was perfectly resolved. Now, the shifting operation is very smooth and effortless. Pressing the start button, at this moment, we see Sam's for this car repair. I believe everyone has. Is this repair good enough? Welcome to leave comments below. This video ends here. Thank you for watching. See you next time.